At Hope Church, we are always talking about what it means to follow, grow, and live for Jesus. But what does that actually look like in your day-to-day life? Follow along with me, Jenny Miles, as we talk to members of our Hope team, partners of our church, as well as staff members, as they share real-life examples of what it looks like to be on journey with Jesus. Get inspired, be empowered, and experience the joy of serving Jesus through Hope Talks. Hey, welcome to Hope Talks. Today I am joined by Pastor Tad Grandstaff, and we are going to be talking all things Easter. We're officially in Easter season. You have your Easter shirt on. I didn't catch the memo because I also have this shirt, but nobody told me to wear it today.
I'm always going to wear a t-shirt to promote something. So.
For sure. I should have known. If I had been in the right frame of mind this morning, I would have been like, oh, you know what? I should match Pastor and grab my shirt because I know he'll be wearing his, but that's not where I was. I was in the my rodeo scene days.
I got you.
I'm not kidding. I put on my shirt this morning and Kason walked up to me and he's like, horses.
That's a win.
He was so excited. I know. I felt like a proud mom.
Yeah, you go.
Anyway, hey, I'm glad you're here.
Good to be here.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down this morning to talk. So, as we open these podcasts, by the way, this is podcast number 7.
The number of completion, right? The perfect number. Just happens to be I get picked for that number.
How fitting that you would be on here for episode number 7. But you probably know at this point, we open our episodes with a special drink per the guest that we have joining us. And I'm going to be honest with you. Weeks ago when we were planning this and talking about this, we had initially talked about doing this podcast the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I had already in my Amazon cart had a Chiefs mug that I was going to serve your drink in.
Now it holds your tears, right? Now it holds your tears in it.
But then Pastor, being the wise person that he is, said, Jenny, we're not going to be recording an episode the day after the Super Bowl because one of us will be
That's right.
in not a good place.
I said you will be upset is what I had prophetically said to you. I think you're going to be in a bad mood.
I think you might be right, actually, when I recall. Anyway, regardless, we have now waited a few weeks, which is good. That was good. I feel better. Yeah, this is a better relationship now. Anyway, but with that said, I do not have a Chiefs mug for you. I just have a plain old cup. But it's funny because you're doing this. You have your, what is that on the table already?
MRE, protein shake, pre-gym workout.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
40 grams of protein. Here's 40 more grams of protein.
Wow. Oh, perfect.
So I think that you're probably really set for the gym today.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I don't know what 80 grams of protein does to you.
No, I'm not going to drink 80 grams before I go. No.
That seems a little dangerous.
I'll save that for after workout. How about that?
I will say I had a doctor's appointment yesterday and the doctor was like, so Jenny, what are your eating habits? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she said, how often do you eat? And I was like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she was like, oh, no, that's not good. And I was like, what in the world? My whole life. She said, you should be doing 6 to 8 meals a day. And I'm thinking, what in the world?
Yeah.
But she said, you just need to have your protein snacks throughout the day.
I got you.
But I drink one of those a day.
They say the healthiest people are the grazers who just kind of have little meals, little pockets of snacks throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm probably not all that healthy.
I could drink most of my calories though. I'm a drinker. So I could drink a lot of calories and eat one big meal a day. I would be happy with that. But, yeah.
Apparently that's what I should be moving to. Anyway, so
this is a health podcast.
Congratulations on being healthy. Yeah. Anyway, there's your drink. Yeah. There's your 80 grams.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Pastor, you are on the stage every week, so people probably know a lot about you, but what is something that people don't know about you? How can you bring us in a little closer?
Well, before I get there, let me just say, excited to be on the podcast.
Oh, good, thanks.
I mean, I remember like a year and a half ago, you came to me and you said, I got this crazy idea for a podcast. And you kind of share with me, I want to just interview some people on our staff and the church, share some stories, and utilize the platform in a different way. What do you think? And I was like, absolutely, do it. One of the things that we always say with our team is, I just want people to dream. I want people to try new things. And immediately I was like, what do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
And so we're like, let's do it. And we're all talking about building a studio and doing all of that so we can get this thing moving forward. But it's been awesome just to hear the stories already, and hopefully for you guys to just know a little bit more about some of our team leaders and people who lead as volunteers, but lead at a very high level, and just hear their passion and share some of their stories. So that was a long introduction to your question, but nonetheless, I say, proud of you. This is awesome. It's going really well. And I can't wait to see what happens in the episodes to come. So
thank you, Pastor. And I do appreciate you. I remember going into that conversation and thinking, who knows what's going to come from this. But I also should have known that you're, like you said, you're always into the, hey, if you have a dream, let's pursue it. Let's do something. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Yeah. And to your point of it's been cool to have people, within the church who now get a platform to just kind of talk about what God's doing in their life. I had a girl come up to me this past week and she said, Jenny, I've got to tell you, I have really enjoyed getting to know the people that have come on the podcast. She said, I'm going to be honest. She said, I sometimes look at these people who are on the stage and I think that, they are just this, untouchable person. And she said, and now I just feel like we're friends. She was like, I just feel like, they're like me. They like the things I like. They do the things I do. Yeah, exactly. And so just her telling me that, it was like, oh,
that's awesome.
That's the goal.
That's the goal right
like
there.
we're wanting to connect this church and just, so yeah.
Excited.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
So you want to know more about me or something someone doesn't know about me? That's hard because I'm a very open person.
You are.
So very, very transparent person.
That's why I thought I needed to tell you this question ahead of time.
So honestly, I was trying to think, I don't know what, I mean, if there's something that I do or I'm part of, I'm always talking about. It's like, I think of all the questions I was wrestling the most with, like, what does somebody not know about me? I couldn't come up with anything. Like, I mean, you know me enough to know, like, obviously, you're in ministry, we deal with people a lot. And so my safe place is my family, like I don't say that. My wife teaches, so she probably is not going to listen to this podcast right now. She doesn't have a lot of margin in her life.
Yeah.
But like spending time with Becky is like, that's what fills my tank. So our 20th anniversary is coming up. We're going on a trip together with no kids. And it cannot get here fast enough.
That's kind of a big deal for you guys.
Oh yeah, it's huge, man. Like we we were in the kid making season for a while, and so we had gone I think at one point we had gone 10 years and not had a night away without kids.
That's
exhausting. Yeah, it is exhausting. It is. And so the last couple of years we've been able to do that, and this year being our 20th anniversary is a big deal. So so I got a camper, and I tell the stories, but when we can pull away from the madness, obviously, but Becky teaching, our kids being in school, man, the school year is just a blur. We're just trying to get to the summer and try to get some time away. So I love camp, love be with the family. As chaotic as it is, because it is chaotic.
Camping is a whole different ballgame. If you've never camped, you don't even understand what it means to be in such close proximity.
No, that's exactly right.
17 people all at once.
That's right. That's right.
It's hard.
Yep.
Props to you. You must really love your family.
I do. Even though I want to kill them half the time, they want to kill me, I'm sure. But we have a blast and it's fun. And so, but I couldn't, obviously I enjoy working out. Health has a benefit. But for me, I really do enjoy getting around a bunch of people who a lot of them don't go to church. Mm-hmm. And it is an outlet for me. It is a challenge for me. That's kind of how I've been anyway. And just seeing, over the last few years, several of the guys that are in the gym who started coming here and get involved in the church, those are huge wins for me, even outside of what I do week in and week out. So but those are things that I talk about. So, I don't know of anything that's anybody would sit at home and be like, really? I never heard him say that before. I don't know. I just don't have anything like that because I'm always looking for content to share on Sunday morning. So,
Every single part of your life comes into the Sunday morning.
At some point, yes.
Yeah. And that's okay. I think that's what makes you being so transparent, people are so drawn to that. And so I realized that was going to be a hard question for you.
Yeah, it is. Unless you know of something. You might think of something and been like, I don't know. But what my sports teams are. You know what I'm doing with the kids.
Yeah.
I love to hunt. I talk about that too. So in the fall, I'm in the tree stand anytime I can get a chance. But that's about it.
What's the best hunting story that you have?
Oh, man.
Do you have a crazy I was out looking for a deer and I got a wildcat?
Yeah, I've had 3 really cool hunting stories with my youngest son, Keaton. He likes to hunt the most with me. So, I've shot a bobcat and a coyote with him. And then...
Hang on. This might be something people don't know.
Yeah.
Pastor likes to store his... what is it? Wildlife? I don't know. His carcasses in the freezers. Any kind of freezer that we have here. It's probably housed a carcass from Pastor.
I just got a deer head out of the freezer just last week because it has been here since deer season. So the taxidermy didn't have any room, so it was in a holding pattern there. So he was holding on to that for me. So it is. It's pretty normal during hunting season to open up a freezer and see. I had a bobcat in there for over a year.
That terrified me. And my poor kid. This is something else that's funny. So a lot of your game is up in your office, and my son Levi, he went into Pastor Tad's office one time, and he said he will never go back in there. It scared him. So we're working on him. He's coming around to the idea of hunting, but I think your office is still kind of off limits for him.
Well, the guy who cleans our building, he told Doug he almost had a heart attack because it wasn't in the office, and then he came in, lights were off, cut the lights on, and there was a bobcat on the wall, and he fell on the floor. He said literally almost had a heart attack.
There you go.
So you asked about stories though, and then 2 years ago on Keaton's birthday, we went out and he shot his first deer. I had to obviously assist him on his birthday.
That was the coolest.
And a 6-point buck. He was really, really excited. So that's been some really cool moments.
Do the girls hunt?
They have gone with me a few times. They're not into it as much. And like my oldest son, Brogan, he'll go out there. But Keaton is really his thing.
Yeah.
So
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. And so let's just jump in. We're talking about Easter, all things Easter. And it's funny because I feel like we've been planning for Easter for quite a bit of time at this point. Which this is my really second Easter being full-time staff. And so the whole planning process is still new to me. And so to think that we've been planning for a while now, I feel far more prepared, this time around.
Good.
Maybe because I know what to expect at least versus, last year I was still new to it all. But it's an exciting season to be planning for. And even when I think about Easter in general, and this just came to me the other day, I was actually saved on Easter weekend when I was 10 years old. Okay. So you will appreciate this. You probably grew up around this stuff growing up in, church home and that sort of thing. But I got saved at Faith Force. Okay. Do you know what Faith Force is?
Oh, yeah. Okay, absolutely.
Anyway, and so I can remember the guy, he was in handcuffs and he's breaking out of his handcuffs. And anyway, he gave me the handcuffs at the end when we had this conversation. And so I still have those handcuffs and I have the date written on it. Awesome. But I think about Easter weekend and it was when I was 10 years old. So I guess that was 2017.
Last year.
And anyway, but Easter is kind of a big deal. And so I just wanted to open it up with what are your connotations with Easter? Do you have, growing up in a big church family, what was Easter for you guys?
Hey, I grew up at when I say a big church, I mean, we're talking 35,000 member church. I mean, so you're talking about a huge church. So when we had kind of 2 Super Bowl Sunday weekends a year, which was kind of Christmas and Easter. And so not talk too much about Christmas, but Christmas, if you've ever heard of the living Christmas tree, which is a massive, you can picture a massive tree on stage with 150 people in a choir in a tree. If you've ever seen that before, it started at our church. They kind of had a big deal. So the biggest of big events you could ever have. And so Easter was huge. I mean, when I say huge, our church started at Liberty University, so we would go to the football stadium, and I'm telling you, chairs would be all 100 yards of the football field with a stage in the end zone, and then the entire stands, and it would be standing room only, packed out. Huge sunrise service on the mountain, sun coming up behind Liberty Mountain, and it was a huge deal. And so I do know this, even though the event was big, it was always centered around Jesus. I mean, the reality is that this is a huge weekend, and people ask why it is such a big deal, and why it was such a big deal for me is because, man, our faith hinges on this. I mean, Good Friday is a day that Jesus dies, which is unbelievable that he would give his life for us and sacrifice for us.
Right.
But if the story ends on Friday that Jesus dies for us, then Jesus isn't in fact the Son of God. He isn't all of the things that he claimed to be. There really isn't any hope for our life or salvation from sin, because no one's actually defeated any of those things. Right. And so the resurrection is the pinnacle really of our entire faith.
Yeah.
So again, I grew up at a place where that was really appreciated and valued, and we'll talk a little bit more about leveraging that opportunity to be able to reach people for Jesus, because it was a huge deal. So I can remember as a kid, I mean, again, I grew up in Baptist environment, so, you're going to put on your shirt and tie, you're going to come to Easter Sunday, everybody had to have on their Easter best, and we don't really operate that way here. We want people just to come as they are. But it was just something special, man. It was something special about the day, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, a lot of excitement, and just a huge day, huge celebration.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny that you talk about, and I've never really talked to you about this, but you talk about how as a kid you were part of a church that was going to a different location for Easter because it was so big. The event, it was an event that is so highly attended, and people are coming that don't typically go to church. Probably, this is a high attendance Sunday because people are willing to come to church on Easter and Christmas. But in years past, we've gone to Williams High School to have our Easter service, and so you grew up, I guess, going to a different location for Easter, and like that was not a foreign concept to you. And I don't know that I had realized that. That feels like it was like going to Williams High School these last couple of years. And that was a big move, but the energy that goes into it is so fun. I mean, I think about this Saturday, and again, last Easter was my first Easter in full-time, situation. And I remember being like, I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm doing. And hopefully you guys feel confident in what I'm telling you we're going to do right now. But it's a lot of setup, that goes into it. But this year we're going to be here. And it's going to be across 5 services. And that's a big undertaking in itself.
That's right.
But I get excited for it. So what was the reason that you think we came back here this year? Having done that traditionally and you having grown up going to a location for Easter.
Well, I think two ways to answer the question. One, going was to kind of regain vision of understanding like Easter's bigger than us. And we used to always say, like when we first started the church, like if you're a follower of Jesus, Easter is for you to celebrate, but I really don't think Easter is for you. And I know that's hard for us to hear. It is. We need to celebrate it. It is our best opportunity to reach someone who doesn't attend church or doesn't follow Jesus. So some of that was, hey, as our church was kind of growing and building, we wanted to try to get everybody under one roof just for a big day of worship and celebration. One, I don't think people realize just the growth that's happened in our church. And so even though we get a lot of guests, a lot of those people there, they're just our people. You just, over 2 services, people don't attend every week. You get a chance to see that. So part of it was getting there. But really, we wanted to bring it back here because the auditorium, I mean, it's a 2,600 seat auditorium. The stage was so far away. I feel like a lot of things got lost in translation. We're very personable, and I just felt like I felt disconnected from the people. I feel like our band felt disconnected from the people. You being on stage felt disconnected from the people. I felt like one of our strong suits is what we do for kids week in, week out. We couldn't offer that for kids. We didn't have the space there. So there was some great things because I do think there was a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. It was a huge day of celebration, so nothing was lost in that. But I think bringing it back here, we get to really personally touch people the way that we want to, and really connect with people, and then obviously offer something for kids. Because I do think families are looking for something that their kids can be impacted by. And so really giving the kids something they can rally behind to make Easter a really big day for them. Because let's be honest, them sitting in the service with us is not a lot of fun, no matter how exciting it is. And parents can't really concentrate either. So bringing it here, I think for us, just offers us opportunity, one, to get a bunch of people involved over the 5 services, but creates the best opportunity we can to serve people. And that really is our heart. So, And
I think that is our heart. That is the goal, is that people would truly see the heart of our church. And that takes place in this building. And it takes place in kids ministry, where kids are getting an opportunity to learn about Jesus on their level. Because I'm going to be honest, as a parent, something that I struggle with is getting on my kid's level. And maybe it's because my kid and I are very different. I think about Levi specifically. He's very creative and I am not. And so to be able to explain things, in a way that he's going to understand and take and resonate with, it's very different than when he can go into kids ministry and somebody who is trained to do that, to be on his level, can explain it in a new way. And then he comes home and he tells me about it. And oh my word, does that not feel just like the best thing in the world, is that like light bulbs are going off in my kid.
I love it.
And so I love that we have the opportunity to do that this year across all ages. And again, just there's something special about walking onto this place. And I feel like
we've mentioned it this morning, even in our staff meeting, but people have commented that pulling into this parking lot, like, I think the Holy Spirit is just so
I believe it.
pressing on this place that you feel it even in that moment. And so why would we not want people to be here?
Lean into it. That's right.
Yeah. So I get really excited about that. So the idea that we're inviting people to Easter, we just had Who's Your One Sunday this past 2 weeks ago Sunday. And Who's Your One has been a thing here for 3 years, right? That we've had these cards that we fill out.
3 or 4, I can't remember.
Yeah. And so the premise behind that is that God is going to put somebody on your heart that you need to press into, because he's put it on your heart for a reason, right? That person needs to experience Jesus. That person needs an invite to church, or, something that is going to draw them to the heart of Jesus. And so, just kind of what's the vision behind Who's Your One? Have you heard of any success stories that have happened? We asked for success stories at the end of that service. So what have you heard?
Yeah. I mean, Who's Your One was birthed a couple years ago out of just like, hey, we're heading into a natural time when people are already looking for church. And so, we're not trying to manipulate anybody to anything. This is just the reality. Statistically, we know that people are looking to go to church at Easter.
Right.
So if there's already a natural time when people are naturally bent to look for a church, why would we not utilize that to our advantage?
Right.
Right. So it's like, hey, if we know that, we got friends and family, they're looking to go somewhere.
Yeah.
If we love Hope Church and we believe that the Holy Spirit is here and that we're going to preach the truth and we're going to stand on the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus, then why would we not leverage that opportunity to get somebody here? And so Who's Your One was birthed out of just reminding ourselves that we can get so busy, even doing church, even attending, that we just forget about people.
100%.
And so it was just a day to remind us that there should always be somebody on our heart, and we should always be looking for that opportunity. And again, what I've loved over the last few years is just the awareness for people to be able to put somebody on their mind. And they always are passing people through the week, but now they've been marked by someone. And now it's like they're seeing that person in a different way. They're looking for opportunities differently. And then we hear the stories. I mean, I was in group this morning and I had a guy tell me, he said, hey, I was able to have a conversation just yesterday with my one. I see this person every day, every week, but God put him on my heart. He said, and we had the most unbelievable conversation yesterday that opened the door for me to be able to invite him to church. And he said, I don't think it would have happened if I would not have written his name down and committed to praying for him. God opened the door.
Absolutely.
Now, was the door there before? Yes.
Yeah.
But you see the moment different, and you see, and there's a moment of opportunity there, and it's like, I prayed for this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step into it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of them. I had a Larry Underwood came to me on Sunday morning and said, hey, my Who's Your One story may be a little different, may not be what you call success. I said, well, what is it? He said, well, I had this one, a guy at work who was always kind of challenging me on my faith and kind of pushed back and was kind of, I had a wall up to church. He said, so he was my Who's Your One last year. He said, me and Tara, we put our Who's Our One beside our bed. We pray for him at nighttime. He said, and as I was inviting him to church, he said, he didn't come here. And I said, okay. He said, but he went to church. And he said, and he gave his life to Jesus. And, man, he's completely changed. Like God's doing a work in his life. And I said, well, that's an incredible success story. I said, selfishly, I want everybody to come to Hope Church.
Because it's the greatest church.
Of course.
Right? Whatever. That's what we think.
And obviously, when we first started the church, I think, you don't have anything. So you're trying to turn it into something. And so you want everything to happen here and have control over it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we say this and we mean this. I just want people somewhere. If it's a church that's going to teach the Bible, that's going to teach the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus, that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and there's no way to God the Father except through Jesus, then, man, I'm great with it. Get them to a church.
Right.
As long as there's
That's how the gospel goes to the ends of the earth, right?
That's right. You know what I mean?
It's
It
not
doesn't
all
just
right
go
here.
through us.
Right.
We're not the only bypass. As much as I would love to think that we are, we're not.
Right.
And so I think it's a huge success story to say, hey, I pray for this person. Maybe God used me to put some little seeds out, but yet somebody else reaped the benefit of that. No, the church did. We did. The faith did. Well, we're all part of it, and that person's going to be in heaven one day because we were part of expanding the kingdom here on earth, and that's the mission, right?
Yes.
And again, I know that sounds like so spiritual and like so humble, like to say that out loud, but it's the truth, right? Like we should have that heart, or we're in the wrong business, right? And so it's like if it really is about kingdom advancement, about making heaven more full, then you know what? Hey, man, there's some great churches in this community who love Jesus. Let's get you somewhere, man.
Exactly.
Let's get you somewhere. So,
exactly. Yeah, that's exciting. I talked to a couple of people in Student Hope this past week too about their Who's Your One, and one of the girls, she said, last year my Who's Your One is literally up front with me on the front row every Sunday now, praising God and throwing down in worship is what she said. And it's just so cool. Again, I mentioned it from the stage on Sunday, but it's so encouraging to see even our students taking this challenge and pursuing a person and not stopping until that person has met Jesus, right? That is what they're doing. It's really beautiful. We had a text message come through this morning from one of our church members who said, hey, I have been, looking to get my family here for so long. And she said, we just so happen to have an opportunity this year where we have a family member that's getting married Easter weekend. And she said, I have asked my family, hey, before we go to rehearsal dinner Friday night, let's go to church at 4:00.
Yeah.
And she said, and they said yes.
Yeah.
And she's so excited. And I, this person in particular, she is a prayer warrior. Like if there was a definition of a prayer warrior, it is this person. And she has earnestly been praying for years. Yeah. And so I know she is on cloud 9 that, she got a yes from her family. And so I'm excited to see what God does through that. Yeah. And her heart behind it, her heart is just that her family would know Jesus, right? Like how beautiful, and that God is going to honor her prayer right there. It's special.
Well, the cool part about it is that we talked a little bit about it on the message of the Sunday of Who's Your One. Like when you see that happen, like when you see the opportunity and then you see somebody come to church for the first time, or you see them in the getting baptized, you see them going forward or whatever, going to the next steps or whatever, like the fulfillment in that, you know? So like we had kind of gotten away from making like a day of Who's Your One. But like, I remember back when we started the church, we used to have this big black glossy board and it just had one on it. And we had kind of presented this idea back, all the way back in 2007 when we started the church. Mm-hmm. And we had these like neon markers and you could come write people's names on them. And it just